This is Youth Work, the podcast that delves into the lives of youth workers, their journey and their work with young people. Welcome everyone to another episode of This is Youth Work. Today we're at the National Youth Work Conference and we're set up in the Captain's Lounge at Cardiff City Stadium, and people can come and go as they choose, have an interview with us, and throughout the day we had numerous people come along. We had people from Youth Cymru, we had the Welsh Language Commissioner, we've had principal youth officers, students from the universities, you name it. So we split the podcast over 2 episodes. So this particular episode is with colleagues from Youth Cymru, and then the following ones are with students from Cardiff Metropolitan. We're going to do the separate one for the Welsh Language Commissioner because we're going to get some dubbing involved, so those who aren't Welsh language speakers can listen to the podcast in their chosen language. So I hope you all enjoy it. With all our guests, we tend to start from the beginning and then work our way through your sort of journey. So we'll start with you, Shannon, because you're towards the window, and then I can work my way up way at the end. So you know, talk us through like your sort of your background and sort of, you know, how you got to where you are now. So talk us through, like, you can start from birth if you want to. You can start from the moment you came into youth work. You go for it. This is your time.
Fab. So I have like a different path, journey, don't even know how to say it, into youth work. So I didn't actually know what a youth worker was.
Okay.
So youth work, so I live in the county of Conway, which is like top middle of the map in Wales.
Yeah.
So there's only 6 counties, so lots of it spread, most of it rural as well. So I just pre-pandemic, I was working in a family centre in Llandudno, really great, and my contract was up in that April, just before the lockdowns.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I'd done support work with like foster families and things like that, but not actual considered that as youth work. Yeah. Just because I just didn't know the term.
Didn't know it was a thing, type of thing.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah.
So I'd know like there was a job in like the council on it, but I didn't know what it entailed. I then, just before lockdown, I saw this job online and I was like, oh, I'm going to go for it. And it was in Warwickshire in England.
Okay, yeah.
With the Targeted Youth Support Team around youth work.
And is that local authority?
Yeah, it was with the council. And they were putting you through your J&C as well.
The youth work qualification.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So lockdown hit and we were like, oh, right, they've like postponed all the interviews and things. So most of the people they recruited were obviously in England.
Yeah.
Very different rules to us.
Yeah.
So we were still in our 5-mile radius. And they were like, oh, come down for an interview. I was like, I can't.
Oh, no. Yeah.
So
yeah, of course.
I had to do all my interviews and things online. And then that September, after the first lockdown, I moved down to Warwickshire. And I lived there for 2 years.
You moved there for the job and to do youth work?
Yeah.
Because, okay, yeah.
Why not?
It's only brave, but that's good.
Yeah, I wanted a bit of change, especially like being in North Wales for the whole of first lockdown as well.
Yeah.
Many times, so I was like, you know what, ready for the change.
Fancy a change.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
So I started my J&C there with the Montfort University.
Wow, okay.
So I did the first year there. I did 2 years with TYS. Loved it. Like, I'll speak to all my colleagues down there. It's great. Moved back home. And then...
When you say back home, back to
North Wales.
Back to North Wales.
Yeah, so back to North Wales. And then I worked for a contact centre in Denbighshire, which was like noting biological parents seeing their biological children in a contact centre.
Yeah.
So 100% supervised.
So it's like social services one sort of thing. Yeah, okay.
Wanted to get back to youth work.
Yeah.
Saw the job with Youth Cymru.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh, I'm going to go with it. So I've been with Youth Cymru now since 2022, September.
Yeah.
Yep. So I'm in about 2.5 years now. And I've now continuing my J&C with Wrexham University.
So when you say you continue, that's your MA? Or PG?
PG Dip. I don't want to do the dissertation. I'm not academic.
Oh, I think you're back to selves. I think you'd be fine.
I'm not okay. I've got a deadline next year.
Guarantee.
It's very touchy.
I'm sure next year we're having a different conversation and be
like,
I've actually done the MA. Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
It's like 18,000 words.
It's a lot.
I did my
18,000. I didn't know it was that much.
I did my placement last year. So David was my supervisor. So with Youth Cymru, so I got that out of the way, and now we're in. So I've got a deadline on the 1st. It's like in like 9 days.
Best of luck at your deadline.
I know, it's a stress. We're trying to not think about it. So yeah, and then I've been with Youth Cymru now. Yeah.
From knowing you, I know that you probably will make that deadline. So I know it's that bit in between. Is that like, I've got a deadline, am I actually going to make it? But you do end up making it, don't you?
Yeah. I probably shouldn't say, but I did my dissertation for my undergrad in 4 days, from start to finish.
If anyone from Cardiff Met is listening to this, I also done mine in 4 days in Cardiff Leisure Centre. And they booted me out at 10 o'clock each evening because I didn't have Wi-Fi at home. I know, tragic case.
That all night.
I'm noticing a bit of a theme with all these podcasts that people don't know youth work's a thing until they're in youth work. What was your sort of journey through youth work, David? You know, did you know that youth work is a thing? What's been your experience?
No, not really. I grew up in a little village, sort of about 20 miles north of Oxford.
Okay.
Nothing statutory, so but had a big scouting community though.
Right.
So I did a couple of years of scouts, but I didn't really stay along because my dad was a leader and he sort of disengaged at that point from your parents. So I left and he continued. And then he dragged me back into it when I was 18, 19 as a leader.
Cool.
So they're always desperate for people to run.
100%, yeah.
So, yeah, I ran the local cub pack for about 2 years.
Wow.
And then I sort of progressed into scouts, and as it were.
Yeah.
They did lots more camping and lots more adventurous stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, that's where I sort of cut my teeth as a youth worker, as it were.
Yeah, yeah.
I went through their training, so gained my wood beads within about 5 years. And then, I ended up moving down to Essex then. So I was in Billericay for about 5 years. So I ran another scout troop down there.
Nice.
And then moved to Cardiff because obviously the properties were a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
Just had a boom in Essex. So, made a fortune on a product, moved down. Got involved with scouts again, and ended up running the Radar Scout Troop.
Yeah.
We built that up to 40 scouts, and
that's good numbers.
I don't know if you know the Radar Scout, but it's tiny. So,
yeah,
we did lots of outdoor stuff and things like that. And then my professional career sort of nosedived a bit. I wasn't really enjoying it because I was a printer for most of my life.
Yeah.
And the Cardiff Met Taster Week came up for youth work, and I thought, let's have a go at that. So I went and attended that for a week, and they said, why didn't you come and do the degree? And I said, this was while I was in my late 30s.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought, I can't really afford that. That's going to cost me a lot. And he said, no, Welsh Assembly will fund all that. So, all right then. And it's free. I go, yeah. So, I signed up. And within the first year, I'd applied for professional job at RF St Athan in their youth centre, which I won. So I ended up running that for about 3 or 4 years.
So in RAF St Athan, in the actual
in the airbase, yeah. So it was 4 children that used to organise the youth workers and stuff, but all run on the base.
And is that for the service children on campus? Yeah.
So and it was a bit difficult towards the end because obviously the RF pulling out St Athan. So we used to go do detach and outreach around the local area. And just to,
And that was funded by the MOD, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
For the RF Benevolent Fund was come through that.
Wow.
And obviously I was also doing placements while I was doing my degree.
Yeah.
So I went into Cardiff Council, went into Trelai as it was there, into a normal youth centre, and it was quite a shock because obviously I've been to voluntary, and my idea of youth work was quite prescribed and regimental, if you like, and prescriptive, and meeting the young people. The youth workers don't speak to us, and it just has seemed so strange and
youth work,
and youth worky. And I said, well, why don't they? What's the point of them being here if you're not going to have that conversation and stuff? So I did my first year there, and then I went into additional needs, which was an absolute riot. I used to love that,
really,
because they used to get them from the local school about 3:30, and then they'd be in there to about 8:30, so they gave
a lot of
stuff. And they used to drop me in it. They say, right, we're doing workshops tonight, so you can have the soft play room and and that's it. So it's full of soft play. And I thought, right, we'll do a string show around then.
Yeah.
You know, the kids love that type of thing.
What an experience.
Yeah. And then we went to Stackpole for a weekend.
Yeah.
Again, the staff weren't really that experienced, but because of my scouting background, we'd done lots of residentials.
Yeah.
So we got the young people involved in that and cooking, because then been anywhere and cooked before, been out in the night before, in, you know, because it's pitch black at Stackpole. So they took torch and things.
Do you notice a change in them after that? Because it is quite a big thing, isn't it? You
It
don't
is,
see
yeah.
many children or young people going out in the outdoors, especially with their families.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so it's quite a big change, because they start quite nervous to start with,
Yeah.
and then they build up their confidence, and of course you're building that relationship all the time, so it's
Yeah.
really good. And they had a theme of the environment, so we walked to a local beach and we collected loads of different types of rubbish and set out in you know, categories of how long it would take to biodegrade and things like that.
Wow.
So it was a really good weekend. And then I moved then into the Duke of Edinburgh wing, as it were.
Yeah.
So
Still with RAF St Athan?
no, this with Cardiff Council now.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So started in the management office, but they trained me up to be a DV leader and and do all the background stuff as well. So that was really good.
Yeah.
And then obviously the second round of cuts hit in Cardiff Council, because we were running Whitchurch Youth Centre and Gibalfa, and you know we'd have 60 young people a week doing Duke of Edinburgh, and it was all
Phenomenal numbers. That is.
it's just axed straight away, which
Such a shame.
it was crazy because they never got the numbers back. And then and then I managed to get a full-time position in Cardiff Council, so running inclusion and DV when it restarted in 2019, 2020.
That was more like open award type of stuff, was it?
That's right.
Yeah.
So we started with a girls group in Grangetown Pavilions.
Yeah.
Got them through their bronze and silver. We also did inclusion, and then they had another reshuffle, so I lost that job.
Oh, really? Oh, that's a shame.
Just as we got it going, actually, and they did employ somebody that hadn't got the qualification, so they couldn't continue that work, which is a bit strange.
Yeah.
And then this job came up for Youth Cymru, and I thought, let's have a go at this, and really enjoyed it. So mentoring, we had a program for mentoring 50 young people.
Yeah.
It was a research project, so we did 25 straight away, and then 25 with a delay.
Yeah.
And they just had a look at the difference in between those two groups.
Yeah.
And we also had a project called Aspiring Champions, where we worked with probation leavers. So that was really interesting. So a lot of them either been in care or prison for most of their lives, so they haven't got any life skills and personal skills. So we start from basics, go through how to clean the house, how to prepare food, all that type of thing.
Would you find then, because the youth work approach, they were a bit more engaged rather than that sort of formal sort of interaction, which sometimes might have gotten them into the place of probation in the first place?
That's right, yeah. Because what we were finding is, we were going through the police and the probation workers, and they were giving us referrals.
Yeah.
But the young people weren't really getting engaged. So we said, right, we'll come into probation meetings and introduce ourselves.
Yeah.
Because I think everybody's got this idea of what youth work is and what youth workers are. So you get yourself in front of a young person and explain, right, well, actually, you're going to prescribe what you want.
Yeah.
We're just going to support you to do it. And they were on board then. So it sort of flew.
Do you think that sort of goes hand in hand with the conversation about people not knowing what youth work is unless they're in it? Because, sometimes people hear youth work if they're not initiated, should we say, and they might automatically assume it's probation work, social work, or even formal education. So going into that setting and saying, no, actually, this is what we're about. Do you think that sort of broke down barriers? And
yeah, definitely. Because again, with the mentoring in schools, there's a lot of young people that have never been in the youth service and they don't really know what it's about. They think it's a specialist provision or something like that, and it's not, open for everybody. And just explaining that to those young people for starters.
Yeah.
And then it's just thinking of different creative ways you can ask them to get involved. So, well, grab your friends together and go down and see what they're doing. And, because they're there to run things for you.
Yeah.
They're free activities in the summer. So go down and see them and see what we can get involved with, really.
Oh, amazing. No, I think it's so important, isn't it? And one of the things I'm very conscious of in sort of my role is, promoting youth work as that career opportunity, but I think that goes hand in hand with promoting what actually is youth work in the first place, because it has so much value.
Yeah.
And I think I've worked for local authorities before, and you end up working with less than 2% of the population of that age category. But that 2% have a really meaningful service from you and that relationship. I asked this question quite a lot, but if you knew what youth work was and that it had a career progression, it had professionalization after leaving school, do you think that might have changed the course of your journey from where you are from then to where it is now?
I think, it must have. I had no idea what I wanted to do after school.
Yeah.
My friend was really prepared, had all the prospectus booklets from the universities, and I literally opened up one and I went, I'll go there. So I did my undergrad in crime, terrorism and deviance.
Right, okay.
So nothing to do what I'm doing now. And there was a young person, although, so I definitely explored that. So I went to Staffordshire University for my undergrad, and actually I did the NCS programme as a stint team lead.
And
There's
national
discipline service.
It's just unfortunate had its funding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was end of last year, wasn't it? I seen them before. Beginning of last year.
So that was set up by David Cameron upon leaving office, wasn't it? Yeah,
exactly. I know loads of people have their challenges with the programme, but so that's really how I got into youth work. So my friend literally just sent me it was like a summer 4-week job.
Yeah.
I was like, this looks great. So we went camping in Pembrokeshire with our young people. We then did a residential in the university halls.
Yeah.
And then they did 2 weeks social action. So the actual programme and the young people from start to finish, their confidence grew. These young people didn't know each other and things like that. So it was really good. And obviously in the middle of Stoke-on-Trent as well. So we're actually looking at running some sessions with that organisation. So it'd be nice to go back to see some of them online to do our detached delivery.
Yeah.
So that'd be really good. But I think when I was in school, it's echoing what David said, really. If you're not a part of the youth service when you're a young person, you don't know what it is. Half my friends and family still don't know what I do.
Yeah.
So, there's no one definition to encompass everything, because it's really hard to actually describe what we do.
Each day is probably different,
yes,
isn't
exactly.
it? Yeah.
And it's individualised to that young person, as it's all young person led. Yeah. Saying that to someone, they'd be like, well, what do you mean? What do you do there?
Yeah.
Well, it depends what they want to do.
Exactly, yeah. I find it fascinating, the whole thing. I really do. And I for me, I always knew what youth work was because I was involved in a youth service and I always wanted to be a youth worker. So I'm one of the weird ones, really. The people think, I've sort of always wanted to do it. Yes, I've done other jobs in between. With your experience, David, so if you knew that there was a coherent professional route, do you think that might have altered the course? Because you've done your degree, you said late 30s. Yeah. Also, I'm a fellow Cardiff Met alumni as well, so it's good to meet someone else from Cardiff Met. Do you think that might have changed your course of direction, or?
Yeah, definitely, because I wasn't very academic at school, and there isn't really an alternative provision to school. So that's they really need to look at something a bit more vocational for people that are in school that later age and don't really engage with education, because it's a good outlet for people to learn life skills and youth work skills. But definitely for me, I think I'd have gone into youth work a lot sooner.
Yeah,
probably at the detriment of Scouts, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But, definitely a lot sooner and a lot more. Got a lot more involved, because I just like. I just like the outdoor life, really. Camping or firelighting, all that type of stuff, and navigating. So, good to develop that really a lot sooner.
What in terms of your love for the profession, what can you say? What you love the most? Do you think is this something you can think? When I go home, I think this has been the best. Is this something you think? Do you know what? The reason I do my job is because of A.
For me, I think it's the last Aspiring Champions project was really good for me, because I was mentoring this young man. He'd been in care for most of his life and ended in prison and come out of prison, and he was heavily into drugs. So it's almost turn his life around, really. And then I just remember knocking on his door one day and there was no answer, and he was actually passed out on his living room floor. So,
wow,
had I not got around,
from drugs,
who knows what would happen? And dragged him to hospital and got him checked out and stuff. But then from that, then it's just seeing him turn a corner, really, and just being able to have that conversation with him and say, look, Tuesday, how do you think your life's going to go if you continue down this path?
Yeah.
And just coming home at the end of the day and thinking, yeah, I've really helped that young person.
Yeah.
It gives you that glow and buzz.
So we're in an open room, so people are more than welcome to come in and out. We're just running the podcast, but you're more than welcome to stay.
Yeah, we're still on there, so
come on in. This is an open forum. I love having new people. I think for me, I never could work out what was the best about my job, but that was probably the best and the worst.
Yeah,
because in the day, I bet you thought that, because that's quite hellish, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
If you think, and I think what Sharon said earlier about it changes, where it saves lives, you probably might have saved his life that day.
Yeah.
In that moment, it might have felt really negative and really, I can imagine that. But I suppose when you reflect on it, it's a really positive thing that you were there and you've done what you've done, you know?
Definitely.
What about you, Shannon? Because I looked as if you didn't want to answer it because it's a hard question.
Try to word it, isn't it? I think for me, the one thing about my role throughout all the different organisations I've been working for is the people. I love speaking. David knows I like annoying David mostly about this job now, but really it's the young people. I like that it is them young person led.
Yeah.
So, there's no prescription. It isn't oh, we've got X amount of targets we have to hit around this certain topic. If the young person doesn't want to talk about it, we don't have to talk about it. That's great. But you are there as well if they need to talk to you about something.
So it's more about the autonomy.
Yeah.
That you can be completely young person led.
Exactly.
Do what what you think is best, but what the young people are telling you that you should be doing, and you just do.
Yeah, exactly. And either that being either one-to-one, as Dave was saying, the mentoring programs that we're doing, or in a youth club setting as well.
Yeah.
Actually, what do you want to do next week? It's just easier for them to, because there's no point me coming in being oh, we're going to do this, and them looking at me
yeah.
That one is she chatting about?
Yeah. So as we were talking, Alexandra come in through the room. So this is the microphone you can speak into. So Alexandra, give us an introduction. Who are you? What are you doing?
So I'm Alexandra. I'm a foundation student at Cardiff Met, and I think I've come in at the right time there.
Yeah.
Because I'm used to. I'm a holistic practitioner before I started doing youth work, and I'm very much I don't know what I'm doing. It was guided by fate, and so for me, I'm having to readdress, strip away some of what I know, but also realizing that actually, whether youth led, I think it always should be. It teaches us to allow people to just be people led.
Yeah, definitely.
It's really refreshing to see that there is this youth service that is almost in hiding unless you're a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I'm when it comes to it, because unless you're a part of it or a youth worker, you don't hear much about it.
Yeah.
And I think I'm growing passionate because for me, I've got to really feel something too. So I'm growing passionate that people should know that these resources are out there to help them, whether it be schools, any sector that has young people, parents. I don't think enough parents actually even know to send their young people to youth clubs and know that provision is there. And I think it's the case that if you don't use it, you lose it, right?
Yeah.
For most things, when it comes to funding, whoever's providing the funding wants to see the numbers. It always comes down to that sort of thing. And I can see the struggle. I'm always I'm not quite in there yet, so I get a nice observational view of everything, and which is really lovely actually coming in this late, because I can see where I want to go, like what needs changing. It's like fresh eyes. As far as it comes to young people, I reflect back to how I was when I was younger, and I guess for most youth workers, we're coming from a place of what we didn't get.
Yeah.
And it makes it easier to let go and surrender, like you were saying. Yeah, just allow it to be led, because maybe we didn't have that voice when we was younger.
Yeah.
And so, for me today, I'm doing my first activity, which it is being led by me, but I'm going to have to, and I say I'm going to have to, so I'm bringing the activity, but I'm going to have to find a way where it's completely led by them.
Yeah.
So that was going to be really interesting.
So you're at Cardiff Met?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm a Cardiff Met graduate, so is David. So welcome to soon to be the alumni. And, do you want to, so after you've done the foundation, is your plan then to go on to do the Bachelor of Arts and complete the degree?
Yeah, most definitely. I think
we want you in this sector, so that's nice.
Yeah. I'm all about creating. I'm definitely all the things that was blocked when I was younger, I'm finding as an adult, and that's been the freedom to my mental health and well-being.
Yeah.
So it's definitely about creating. I think as adults, young people rely on us also being very innovative.
Yeah.
And so I'm very much about being innovative and finding a way of reconnecting community. Looking out there at the trees. That is my path. Nature. Reconnect, and then especially being here in Wales, it is, I think, the Welsh are so connected, more connected to the land.
Yeah.
Very much more earthy. And I think it's all to do with communities. It's definitely all to do with community. So I came to Wales doing a bit of soil sampling around farms, and I think my youth. I remember before I even knew I was doing youth and community work, I was like, all the young people were leaving the farming generation. I was like, they should get people from the cities to come and, like, they're doing a swap, and I think that's where it's going to go now. See if I can get care leavers or homelessness or to experience farming.
We went to a really good project, didn't we? You're going to have to help me with geography down here. I'm up north. So
I don't remember. You told me about this.
Not far from Brecon.
There we go, Brecon.
Okay.
And it was really good. Action for I say this, very conservation. I say conversation. Very good at English. And that was all around biodiversity and economical farming and things like that. It was amazing. We had a learner from our detached actually works there, so we got a lovely little trip to see how the actual farm ran, and actually their project is a young person led as well. So it's a 25-year project, wasn't it?
Yes.
So the first 5 years were planning, and now they're in the implementations phases, and it's amazing. Like, they've done like a whole mapping of like generational of like how the farm was, what species they want to reintroduce. Great, I'll send you details. Amazing.
In Brecon as well. I mean,
And I think it was like a whole valley, wasn't it, almost? Because we went one side to the other, didn't we?
Yeah.
And we got to hold some lambs, didn't we? And they got some horned cows and things.
They were gorgeous. But we brought one of our young leaders, and funny enough, I seen her on Tuesday, and she loved it. She's still speaking about it. It went a few weeks ago, and she was like, it was just a complete detox. Like, we did a mindfulness in the middle of a field, and that was her favourite part. And I've been working with this young person for 2 years now.
Well, yeah.
And it was just great to see her having that time to reflect on the day and what we were going to our midnight skate that night as well. So it was a very long day for everyone, but it was just amazing. She's still speaking about it, so she loved it. Yeah. And she's looking at doing her uni in youth and community. Pulled her over to the dark side.
Gotta get them, mate. Yeah. No, and I think it's great. More people, if they're involved in youth work as a young person, they're more likely to become youth workers themselves. And I think it's great. Obviously, I love the sector. I love doing my job. And I always, when I visit universities and I visit student groups or I visit young people themselves, I always try to sell them the dream. And I think that people think I'm lying, but actually, the general love I've had for youth work, I hope that people do join it. I understand people want other career pathways, and I get it. If you want to be a civil engineer, absolutely, it's not for me. But you crack on. But yeah, I asked this to all everyone that comes on the podcast, and we've had a few people so far. And the one previously we've done around men's mental health in particular, because on the day it was Men's Mental Health Awareness Day. And that was an interest when I asked this question. But the question I always ask everyone is, what are you most looking forward to about your future? And it's such a... And my answer changes all the time.
So you've just got a whole podcast of different answers throughout.
Yeah, so mine changes every podcast. So I'm sure yours, Alex, has got to be you passing your sort of foundation year and moving on to level 4 in September.
Further than that.
You can be...
It's going to be philosophical, I think.
Do you know what? We welcome that. You go for it.
I think I'm looking forward into my future. It's a bit cheesy to say the learning and the growing, but also I like a bit of the accountability and the trying to find the words. The rebuilding, and it's too very logical and coming, but the nice moulding and the go with the flow and the letting go and the surrendering, and me creating a better person within myself, because there's always room to grow, to be able to be that mirror for other people, I think. And that's what I'm looking forward to in the future, because I can see it.
Yeah.
Being in, I say this to everyone, being in Cardiff Met, it's like the most expensive retreat I've ever done. I've been so emotional already. I've just settled, but it is, and I think youth work has, like, all the youth workers I meet, I think, oh my God, you're so amazing. They're amazing people, youth workers.
Yeah.
And I think it's been a part of something where you're that mirror for young people, and it is all about the next generation, no matter where they are in life, whether they have struggles or they're within poverty and we're bringing something, or if they are perceived to have everything, you're creating tomorrow's future ministers.
Yeah.
Or not creating, sorry, guiding. Yeah. Tomorrow's future ministers, and also, future carers. If I say carers, not as in the community, I'm not very good with words, but as in you want them caring about the community.
I think that's ownership as well, isn't it? They want to feel part of it, and you can only have ownership if you feel part of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
David, you've had a bit of time to think about that, so, and even longer for you, Shannon.
Oh,
what a test.
But I think what we've spoke about is specialising in something like residentials or something. Okay. So whether that's completely run by us or facilitating other residentials, be nice to get involved with it though, and just run it for people and just get re-engaged with the environment. I think, like I said, my background is scouting and Duke of Edinburgh, so it'd be good to get some navigation skills out there, some basic fire line skills, some cooking skills, that type of thing, and perhaps looking after the environment, that type of thing as well. So
it's very similar to what you were saying about that sort of connected to the earth sort of thing. So that's almost like living off the land, like the thing, using natural resources.
Yeah, and maybe growing things. So perhaps if people are doing residential, perhaps have a progression or growing system somehow that we could develop.
Yeah.
I think me and David have done residential. I've camped with David twice now. So we did a residential.
David being like Bear Grylls, rope around from shoulder to his hair, and all the carabiners along his belt. Yeah,
see me like that as well, Darryl. Come on.
Just from your gear to David, I can see you like it, Shannon. I'm sure you do.
And that was just the In It Together festival, wasn't it?
Yes. We camped with, we had a residential with young people, and then we had the opportunity to go to In It Together festival last year and have a stall there. It was very cold. I'm not a all-weather girl.
What's the saying about outdoor weather? It's about your kit, not about or about to prepare and all that.
Well, Shannon had a -35 sleeping bag, and fluffy pajamas and woolly socks and you had a hoodie on as well, didn't you, and a hat?
And it was so cold. And what month was it? December, was it?
No, like May, June.
June.
I don't know what was happening.
It was June. I wanted to tell you.
I was freezing. I don't know what was happening, but it was cold. So, but we, like, David did like cooking and everything. So I was having a lovely little time. Clara also said it was cold as well. It wasn't just me. So I'm still taking it wasn't just a me problem. Clara said it was freezing.
I could understand Clara though, because she had one of these very basic sleeping bags and one of the maximum air. So they're not the best for camping. But
no, they just let the heat through, didn't they?
Yeah.
So she wasn't great.
But you haven't said what you're most looking forward to. What are you excited about? You know, what's the future of Shannon look like?
So, passing this deadline that I've got on Saturday, not this Saturday, next Saturday. So I've got a little bit more time, and then I've got another module after that. So I think getting the JNC is definitely a goal, just to solidify the qualification of like my youth work status.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people that won't recognise you're a youth worker unless you have a qualification. I don't agree, however. Just to say, oh yeah, I've got the JNC. So I think that's my main short-term goal, but I think it's difficult to say. So obviously a charity-based, we don't know what's happening with funding.
Yeah.
So I think it's really challenging to look into the future and be like, I'm definitely going to be here for the next 10 years, because you don't know, especially with like all the cuts and things. So I think we need more funding for youth work across Wales.
We just seen the minister upstairs.
Because even like measuring impact's really difficult. Like we've got the leadership impact meetings across Wales, and like this is going around for like a year and a half, 2 years now, and there isn't one way to measure impact. And actually, 5 years down the line, a young person will come back and be like, "Oh, this really helped." But actually, the time they're like, "Oh no, yeah, it was a good session." I'm like, okay, like, what did you learn from that? I'm like, no, you did learn so many things.
Sort of answered my second question, because my second question normally is what scares you and what you're not excited about the future. So what are you frightened of? So that's probably long term, about funding, about where you're going to be.
The stability of the youth sector, career-wise.
Yeah.
Because everyone, like there's 400 plus professionals upstairs.
Yeah.
Everyone wants this career. It obviously has the impact on the young people. That's why we're all here. I love like meeting all the youth workers, as you were saying, but actually the stability long term.
Yeah. I think that's the downfall of youth work is there's lots of, well, I would say the majority is temporary contracts, temporary funding. So you never know where you're going to be 1 year to the next. And that can be quite scary as well. So, if people that want, we live the same life as everybody else, so we've got mortgages, we've got bills to pay and stuff. So covering all that. So it'd be nice to have, something that's a bit more permanent, I guess.
We know we're not going to get rich, don't we?
Yeah,
but we still need to live. Fundamentally. What's your take on this, Alexandra? Because you're coming into the sector. You told us about what you're excited for, what you want to do. But is there something you think? I don't know. I'm a little bit apprehensive about this, or are you sort of echoing the same as what Shannon and David have said?
It's been interesting. I mean, the funding has come up because I spoke today to someone who's been affected by cuts. It's always when someone's trying to do some good that it's that area that takes the hit. I think that's why youth work really is important. Just in the here and now. For young people, just where I'm studying, and everyone knows it, whether they're political or whether they're not, and whatever they have to say. But it's important to teach young people about the world they're living in, and the context, and how everything has an effect, and generally how we are towards each other, because we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So when I just think actually just the now is very important, and maybe to have some of that positive energy of things being hopeful, because it's always like I've just walked into this room. It's the second time today I've walked into this room. I didn't know what was going on in this room, and it is about walking into the room, whether it's us, like the room being a metaphor, or whether it's young people, and it's just having that belief that.
So this is the captain's lounge. So I thought everyone would have to call me captain, but that wasn't the case. So, you know, I'm a bit devastated with that. Okay,
Darryl.
yeah, I'm not in the captain's chair. Maybe I should get one. So, you know, big throne sort of thing. You know, like the football captain, because we're here at Cardiff City Stadium with the stadium to our right-hand side, so a few David and Shannon's left-hand side. So I think that sort of wraps it up, really, doesn't it? Unless you guys got anything to add. But thank you very much for your time. And Alexandra, I wish you all the best with your studies. And I'm sure we'll be seeing you in graduation in a couple of years' time. Yeah, walking across and trying not to slip and embarrass yourself in front of 1,000 odd people. Whiskers through.
You'll be going back style like Darryl said.
It goes for every single person's head. And, you know, there is one or two people that
It's listening, is there?
No, it's not. But if you imagine, all your nerves go out the window and you think, right foot, you know, salute to the dean or whatever you have to do. And David and Shannon, I wish you all the best with Youth Cymru, and I hope, you know, that organisation thrives as it has been doing recently, and we're smashing it. And
some exciting things coming.
100%. We've got a lot of love for Youth Cymru, so keep up. Thanks for listening to This Is Youth Work. Don't forget to follow and subscribe to receive notifications on future episodes. If you like what you're hearing, don't forget to press the like button.